So I'm going to be honest, what happened last night was really crazy in the NBA playoffs. The Miami Heat were able to beat the Milwaukee Bucks in what was a really intense game. Miami just kept fouling the Milwaukee Bucks. They kept making their free throws. They had such an enormous lead with like 30 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Miami had to come back from a 5-point deficit with like 8.4 seconds left. The Miami Heat had a 16-point deficit entering into the fourth quarter, and they forced the game into overtime where they won. Now, the game finished at midnight Eastern, so obviously I wasn't watching it, but it was almost certainly a thriller game. The Miami Heat, an 8 seed, had just upset the Milwaukee Bucks, a 1 seed, keeping Milwaukee from the second round and making them the first play-in team to advance to the second round, as well as the first 8 seed to be the 7 seed since 2011, when the 76ers upset the Chicago Bulls. That was crazy. And we know who their opponent is going to be, the New York Knicks. And the reason why we know that is because the Knicks beat the Cavaliers to also finish their series. Now, the Miami Heat are also the quickest 8 seed to ever be a 1 seed, as in they're the only one that never needed to go to a game 6 to do so. They got the job done in 5 games. The New York Knicks also got the job done in 5 games. So the Celtics-Hawks series is going to be the only one in the Eastern Conference that is guaranteed to go to a game 6, which actually should be happening tonight. And I'm very anxious for the results because this is the only series that, for right now, affects the Philadelphia 76ers. So, yes, that's right. And the reason why it's this way is unfortunately because of the fact that, the NBA doesn't reseed, which is stupid because you get situations like this where you could very likely have E2 and E3 playing off and then also you have E5 and E8. It should be E2 and E8 facing off against E3 and E5, but that's not the case with this and the way the NBA playoffs are structured. Now, 2 series ended last night. A third did not. The Memphis Grizzlies were able to defeat the Los Angeles Lakers to keep themselves alive, keep themselves into the NBA postseason. They were able to, in what could have been the elimination night for the Lakers, they were able to just keep it forward and continue to keep their season alive. They still need to win 2 more games to advance to the second round, though, and I don't have confidence that the Memphis Grizzlies can do it. After all, it is the LA Lakers, but there's definitely some hope in the eyes of Memphis now that they're able to win this game. I won't say that's tipped in their favor because it hasn't, but there's definitely a chance now for the Grizzlies to come back from this and, meaning there was only one notable upset. Also, the Golden State Warriors defeated the Sacramento Kings last night. The Warriors now have a 3-2 edge. Again, a lot of pundits were forecasting this. Even though the Kings were able to go up 2-0, a lot of them were still kind of 50-50 if they could win the series. This was exactly why. Now the Kings have to win, they have to win 2 more games in order to put themselves into the next round. I think that we could very likely see this Grizzlies and Lakers series going the full distance. And I also think that this Warriors-Kings series could go the full distance. And, I kind of had hope that the Knicks-Cavaliers series would go the full distance, or that the Heat-Bucks would go the full distance. I mean, the Celtics-Hawks could also go the full distance. But again, these underdogs need to win Game 6, and then that's how a Game 7 is forced. So, not unlikely, but for one of them to go the full distance, but I don't really have any confidence in any one in particular to be able to go the full distance. And we already have 2 brackets for the next round of the NBA playoffs. They're literally set right now. We know that the Denver Nuggets will be going up against the Phoenix Suns, and we know that the New York Knicks will be going up against the Miami Heat. And as much as ESPN forecasts the Knicks to beat the Heat with 80% confidence, I actually think that the Miami Heat has a bit of an advantage. Now, I know that a tougher opponent in the first round has generated some controversy as to, well, what does this mean? Does it mean that they're probably exhausted from having to go up against a powerhouse like the Milwaukee Bucks? Or does it mean they have to be skilled enough to defeat such a good team that it gives them power? And I personally lean towards the second. I also think that the Miami Heat is just a better team than the New York Knicks. Based on previous history, I mean, this is the Knicks' second time in a decade being in the NBA playoffs, and that's kind of why I am forecasting the series to go in favor of the Miami Heat. But I can see why a lot of people would think that the Knicks would win. As far as the Nuggets-Suns series, I do predict that the Denver Nuggets are going to get it over them. As far as the remaining series, I do unfortunately think that the Celtics will win the series against the Hawks. All they have to do is just win one more game. The Hawks still have 2 more games to win. Lakers versus Grizzlies, I think that we're going to see the LA Lakers win. I just don't think that the Memphis Grizzlies can put that comeback together. And I also think that the Warriors are going to beat the Kings. But I'll be interested to see what happens. And, you know, I definitely do think there is some hope for the Memphis Grizzlies. I think that if they can win in Game 6, they should be able to win Game 7 at home in Memphis. So they're definitely not out of it yet. But what I'm trying to say is that the opportunities are not as great as they could be. Now, shifting over to hockey land for a little bit, the 2 series I'm paying attention to, the Seattle Kraken actually beat the Colorado Avalanche last night. And now the Kraken are up 3-2. Now, this means that Seattle actually has a good chance of advancing to the second round. All they have to do is win one more game, and they're in the second round. Now, does this mean that they're going to do it? Absolutely not. They could, of course, falter, but, I mean, if you're a Seattle Kraken fan and you're watching this video, just be incredibly proud that in your first ever postseason run, in your second ever year, that you could beat the defending Stanley Cup champions in the first round, even if you fall in the second. And I think that the Seattle Kraken, while not the Las Vegas Golden Knights, will set a good precedent for how good teams can do in their first couple of seasons with this. Now, I also think that as far as the Islanders series, I read a New York Post article saying how the Islanders now actually have a chance with how they were able to win Game 5. Yeah, I still think the Hurricanes are going to win. First of all, I don't trust the New York Post. Second of all, well, Game 6 will be held at UBS Arena in Nassau County where the Islanders play. Game 7 goes back to Raleigh for the Carolina Hurricanes. So, while I think there's a good chance that that the Islanders should be able to win Game 6, this doesn't mean that they're going to be able to win in Game 7. And I think that this is where that big concern for the Islanders comes in as to, you know, again, it's a 3-1 comeback they have to make, and they're still down 3-2. So, again, Carolina Hurricanes, just know that I'm with you. The Carolina Hurricanes used to play in Hartford, Connecticut, so they used to actually be a bit of a metro area team, or those kind of stretches. They were in between New York and Boston. And I'm with you, the Carolina Hurricanes. Islanders, you should be ashamed of yourself for injuring half of the Hurricanes roster, and I just hope that the Islanders get out. As far as the Rangers vs. Devils series, I mean, they're both Islanders rivals. I don't really care about that series too much, but I will support the Rangers just so that not everyone hates me.